All right, so let's talk about some of the basics of the applet interface syntax and help you actually figure out how you can create that interface on the front end for the user. So, how can we actually come and create something that has some interface and helps guide the user through how to use it? Okay, so the easiest way to actually find it, there's two places. One is if you actually hover over that question mark icon, you will see a bunch of info related to actually how to create the syntax. All right, so that's one spot. The other place that you can go to is actually if you click on the programming guide here, you will get a PDF that goes into quite a bit of detail on how you actually create items, interface items inside Piece. Now I'm going to go into this in some amount of detail, but those are the two places that you can. Again, this is kind of the quick reference guide. The programming guide is more in depth. Since I'm on this page, let's zoom in and actually take a look at this right here. And what you'll see here is this is the basic syntax for how the construction of interface elements inside Piece works. So you'll see we always put interface elements between these double brackets. This is what will actually allow the plugin, the Chrome extension on the front end. So when you're in the chatbot, this is what will actually allow the extension to actually interpret that you have created an interface element and display it to the user. Okay, so we always put interface elements within those double brackets. Now you'll see that there are 4 different items here separated by double colons. Okay, and double colons are what tell the interpreter to basically move from one element to the next. So it's saying, hey, I've entered what I'm considering the label, and once it sees these double colons, the next thing it will assume is that you are giving it the type. Okay, and then when it sees the next colons, the next thing that it is assuming you'll give it is options, and then the last one is the meta information. Now we'll explain what each one of these are for each type of input in kind of their own video, but that's the basic syntax: label, type, options, meta. Okay. Now let's talk about what each one of these is. So the label is actually what we are calling kind of the variable, and where you'll actually see that pop up is when I run the applet. This item, so where it says chapter here, that's actually the label for this item. So label is actually what that bolded text is actually showing. Okay, so the label is just kind of the name of that specific input. Now the type is actually, well, what is that input? So that's defining what the type is doing. That's defining whether, for instance, we're getting a drop down like you see here, or whether we're getting radio buttons or some other type of input. Now there's a few different options for what we actually can get, and I'll show you here. If we hover here and you come and you follow my mouse, you'll see that the couple different types are, number one, if there actually is no item present, so if there is no defined label, that's actually just a basic text input, a simple text input, no big deal. It's just a one-line text input. So again, if we have no type defined, it's just a simple text input. If we have long text, that's a multi-line text input, so kind of like a paragraph. If we define a drop down, that's where we're going to get a drop down menu. Radio is a radio button. File is where we can do a file upload. Date is a date selector, and checkbox is checkboxes. So those are the various types of inputs that we can have inside Piece, and we really can have any number of these. So there's no limit to the number of inputs. It's just your creativity and how you want to actually define or design the the applet that you are creating. Okay, so that's the basic structure for how we actually put things together. And then, like I said, each one of these types has its own specific syntax. So when we cover the basic text or the long text, they will have different options that you'll need to learn to figure out what complexity can you add to that specific input type. So we'll cover that on subsequent videos for each one of these types of inputs.